Test prep time is my least favorite time of year, so this is yet another video in my series about test prep and making it more engaging for students and for the teachers because I get pretty bored doing worksheets and it's really not my style. So in this video, we're talking about how to make math review engaging for students while also spiraling in all of the math skills that you've taught this year. Okay, we're gonna put a heavy emphasis on data here because my students really struggle with math, and one of the key things that I have to do with them each year to prep them for the test is really fill in a lot of gaps. So no, I'm not gonna fill in every single gap, I'm not gonna bring every single student to grade level, but there are a lot of things that I can do to prepare my students for the test other than just doing problems over and over and over again and doing nothing with that information. So while we're practicing for the writing test, I am heavily focusing on student data so that I know where my students are struggling and what key skills I need to fill in. So we're going to talk about how to do that and also, of course, how to fill in those skills, which is kind of important information for you as well. So before we talk about that, it's really important to note that you do not want students to get burnt out by doing practice problem after practice problem after practice problem and lots of bubbling. So what I do is we work just on our math review for about 10 minutes a day, and this is actually our math review where students are doing our spiral questions. It's just not the really most engaging thing. It's like worksheets. So we only focus on this 10 minutes a day, and the other times that we're doing test prep, we're working on helping students fill in the gaps with more engaging lessons. The reason I do this 10 minutes a day is because I want to see where my students are at. I want them to get more practice on the types of problems they'll see on the test, but I don't want them to get burned out. If you're interested in this resource, check the link in the description below. We have multiple grade levels and they're all spiral practice and they're in nice little booklets so your students can pull them out to work on over 10 minutes every day, and it's nice and organized. Okay, for the writing test prep, you want to make sure you include different formats for each skill. That's so important because students might see these in a variety of ways. So you might be wondering, is this test prep practice whole group? Is it small group? Is it partners? Is it individual? My recommendation is to do this test prep practice for 10 minutes a day and do a variety of those, sometimes whole group, sometimes small group. You can have students work on a specific number of questions on their whiteboards in partners, and then they can show their answers at the same time and compare and see if they got the right answer, if they need to make a correction, if they got the same answer. So there's lots of ways that you can gamify it, whether they're in partners, in small group, or you're doing it whole group. But I definitely would not do any test prep where the students are just working on their own for extended periods of time. Because a lot of times those students who are lost won't know how to do it, and the students who've already mastered it will know how to do it, and there's really no extra growth there. So we want to focus on the things that will give us growth, and a lot of times that includes collaboration. Okay, let's talk about data tracking and what to use it for. So in these test prep booklets, I have students mark the problems they get correct and the problems they get incorrect. I color code them, and this helps see what problem they got wrong, but also what skill that problem falls under. So in this one, they got 78 wrong, and that's in problem solving. It doesn't look like they have any big gaps here, except maybe multiplying fractions. They missed 2 of them. In reality, you'll probably see a lot of booklets where you have at least 75% of a specific skill that's red, especially things like multiplication, division, fractions. These are actually broken out by fraction place value, add, subtract fractions, multiply fractions, etc. But you will see a lot of those, and those are where you need to fill in the gap for students. So what's cool about this is as you are working with it with your students, you can collect it from time to time. You can compare, and you can actually use this to make a list of a small group. So maybe you have 5 students who are really struggling with multiplication. Those are the students that you'll work on in small group. Maybe you have like 20 students, and in that case, you know you need to do some more whole group lessons and practice. So from this data and information on your test prep, use this to create small groups, use it to re-teach in whole group if you have something that your entire class is struggling with, and make sure that both of those experiences are really engaging for students. You're not just teaching it the same way you taught it before. You're using brand new notes, you're using brand new problems, you're gamifying it if you can, involving a lot more practice, and doing that will help fill in gaps for students, and you'll see your test scores rise. One of the common issues that we see has to do with fractions, and so I'm going to link to a video that I did on 3 fun games for reviewing fractions. And this video is really awesome because it goes over some of the ways I use games in centers, and centers are a really great way to differentiate when you don't have time for small group or whole group and you're trying to kind of work in some skills for individual students or small groups of students who are still struggling. If you do have time for whole group reteach or small group reteach and you think your students need even more practice, it allows you to set some students up on centers while you're working with some students in the back and other students are practicing independently. So it's really nice to have that set up so that students can have a really fun game that practices the skill that they're struggling with. And fractions is definitely one of those skills that we find a lot of students are struggling with at the end of the year and the next year and the next year and the next year. So to recap, do a very small amount of test prep, actual worksheets, 10 minutes a day. Use that data to help fill in the gaps with your students with engaging lessons. And just don't kill math for students. Don't make it really tedious or boring. Do everything you can to make sure that your students are still enjoying the process while getting that practice for the state test. If you liked this video, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. I'll be doing more test prep videos, but more importantly, I'll be doing more skill-based videos to show you how to bring engagement into your classroom. Also, if you have any questions at all, post them in the comments below. I'm here to help. I would love to share my expertise with you and just chat about math test prep.